Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into sandals caked with Nile mud, stepping into a marketplace where perfume turns dusk into liquid gold. Oil lamps hiss like angry cobras as you duck under a frayed linen awning. Shadows stretch longer than a pharaoh's burial procession, twisting around clay jars stacked waist-high. Your sandal snags on a warped wooden plank. Nice start. You'd last 2 minutes here before tripping into a vat of crocodile fat unguent. Vendors fold cloth over jars with hands cracked like desert clay, murmuring recipes older than the pyramids. Spoiler: they're not sharing those secrets with sandal-snagging newcomers. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment saying where you're lounging right now: Tokyo, Buenos Aires, somewhere with better Wi-Fi than this dusty ghost of a bazaar. Now, dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You inhale smoke from braziers burning tamarind resin, sweet and sharp as a priest's forgotten love letters. A vendor thrusts a vial under your nose, its glass still warm from the kiln. Lotus blended under last harvest's moon, he croaks. You blink. His teeth shine unnaturally white, probably rubbed with olden days toothpaste. Fun fact: Egyptians used crushed pumice and vinegar. Your gums throb just thinking about it. Threadbare tapestries flap in the wind, depicting gods with lotus flower crowns. Historians still argue whether those weavers inhaled too much myrrh while working. Someone's sandal squeaks behind you too close. You pivot, heart drumming, just a girl balancing a basket of dried juniper berries. Her chuckle follows you like a persistent fly. A juggler shuffles past, tossing clay shards that never quite fall. His hands move faster than a scribe's pen. You catch a whiff of his armpits. Big mistake. Let's call it fermented goat musk. Should have stuck with the lotus vendor. Damp linen brushes your shoulder, a dyer draping indigo-soaked cloth overhead. The air thickens with the tang of urine-soaked mordant. Quirky tidbit: some perfumers stored scents in old chamber pots to mellow the aroma. You gag politely. The dyer winks, her fingers stained blue as the afterlife. Coppersmiths bang out shallow bowls nearby. The rhythm matches your throbbing headache. One smith pauses, wiping sweat with a rag that's seen 3 dynasties. He nods at a jar of amber resin. For the lady's burns, he grins. You glance at your sun-pinked shoulders. Touché. A cat weaves through stacked reed baskets, its tail flicking a jar of saffron oil. The vendor doesn't flinch. Smart man. Cats outrank merchants here. You step over a puddle of something glossy. Let's assume it's spilled jasmine attar. Beneath the haggling, you hear it, the Nile's low hum. Closer now. Faint croaks of FROG's Chinese letter papyrus thickets. Your fingers graze a jar sealed with wax, the surface etched with a scarab. It's warm, almost pulsing. Do you pocket it? Probably. Wouldn't blame you. Voices rise near a stall piled with myrrh chunks. Two traders argue over weights, their bronze scales tipping like drunk acrobats. One accuses the other of watering down resin. Amateur move. Even myrrh fraudsters got buried alive back then. The western horizon swallows the sun. Torch flames stretch higher, turning the dust into floating embers. You smell burnt honey and regret. A vendor offers you fig wine in a chipped cup. Your stomach growls. Hydration's overrated anyway. Shadows pool between stalls, forming shapes that flicker like half-remembered dreams. Some say night markets mapped the underworld's borders. You're pretty sure that's just sleep deprivation talking. The wine goes down easier than expected. A child darts past, clutching a clay horse. His laughter bounces off mud brick walls. For a heartbeat, the market softens. Then he's swallowed by the crowd. You stare at your empty cup. Maybe time to find a less rickety stool. Oil drips from a cracked amphora, splattering the hem of your tunic. The scent clings cardamom and something earthy. Secretions of a sunbathing hippo. Let's not investigate. You dab it with a linen scrap. Now you smell like a pharaoh's laundry day. The lamp above you gutters, casting the nearest stall into darkness. A hand brushes yours, cold as moonlight. You jerk back. Just a blind perfumer reaching for her mixing bowl. She sniffs the air, tilted toward your stolen scarab jar. Her milky eyes narrow. Oh, drums begin somewhere downstream, slow and heavy as a funeral march. Vendors still their tongues. Even the torches seem to hunch closer. Your throat tightens. This silence feels borrowed. Ode. A dog barks twice sharp as an obsidian blade. The moment shatters. Laughter erupts from a spice stall. Coin pouches jingle. Normalcy returns if you ignore the goosebumps on your arms. You rub them, scattering the last granules of daylight clinging to your skin. The perfumer turns away, humming a tune your pulse recognizes. Lanterns sway as the wind shifts, carrying burnt sugar and the musk of unseen beasts. You lean against a pillar, its surface carved with jackal-headed gods. The stones still warm from the long dead sun. Vendors pack unsold wares, hissing at sluggish assistants. A moth drifts into your lantern's halo, wings powdered with ochre dust. It circles twice before landing on your wrist. Your breath stills. The world shrinks to that fragile pulse of wings. Then poof, it's gone. You exhale. Footsteps echo from the docks, wet and slapping. Fishermen hauling night catch. Guards on patrol. You glance back. Only shadows trading places. The scarab jar warms against your hip, a smuggled heartbeat. Stars prickle the purple-black sky. One winks, or maybe you imagined it. A merchant lights a censer, frankincense curling into the shape of forgotten prayers. The smoke tastes like answers to questions you've never asked. Your legs ache. How long have you been standing here? Time moves differently when surrounded by ghosts of scent. You shuffle toward a flickering brazier, its embers chewing through acacia wood. The heat kisses your shins. A linen strip tears free from an awning, fluttering down like a surrender flag. It lands in the brazier. Flame licks its edge, orange teeth devouring hieroglyphs. You watch the cloth blacken. Someone's shopping list. Love poem. Either way gone. The market's heartbeat slows. Voices drop to whispers. Even the Nile seems to hold its breath. You press a hand to the scarab jar. It thrums, or maybe that's your blood rushing. Either way, the night's just getting started. The breeze carries crushed petals, blue as the hour before dawn, and your lungs fill with something older than breath. A girl kneels by oil lamps, henna'd hands grinding lotus into paste. You recognize the strainer, a hip ivory spoon Pharaoh's once used, though hers is palm-sized and chipped. For dreaming, she says, offering a vial. The glass kisses your palm, cool as those river stones you pocketed years back. Experts think Egyptian queens bathed in lotus oil before temple rites. Not just for scent, rumor says it softened their skin for godly touch. You dip a finger, rub wrists slick. The perfume blooms bitter green first, then honey, like eating sunlight through water. Cleopatra supposedly stuffed her bed with dried lotus petals. 12 servants to fluff them nightly right before her lovers arrived. Historians still argue whether the bloom caused visions or just vivid naps. You eye the girl's tattered shawl. If she's royalty, so's the mudcat stretched by her feet. She grins, tooth-gapped. Same recipe since Ramesses got wrinkles. You almost laugh. Ancient skincare, 1 part flower magic, 3 parts creative history. Her mortar holds a paste no thicker than frog spawn. A drop stains parchment, translucent gold. Your coin buys a thumb-sized bottle. She wraps it in papyrus, still smelling of swamp. Downriver, a flute trills. You pocket the vial, suddenly aware of how your own skin lacks divinity. Night birds circle their shadows, ink blots on the sand. The market feels heavier now, as if the air itself remembers what you've just bought. Lotus oil clings to your collar. Your pulse, long after her stall, blurs into torchlight. You swear the stars smell sweeter. Or maybe that's just sleep sneaking up, dressed in blue. The lotus vial rests heavy, a new heartbeat at your ribs as wood smoke claws the air. You follow its sting to a stall hung with donkey leather bellows. A woman older than the pyramids pours, resin dripping slow as a dying hour, onto bronze scales. Her hands are burnt honey, scarred where boiling oil spat its rage. Myrrh, death's perfume, used to wrap pharaohs so their skin wouldn't offend the sun god. Fact, these same sticky globs once sealed royal eyelids shut. She hums while weighing doom. A delta tune your mother might have crooned if your mother reeked of tomb rituals. Come closer, sandfly. Her voice rasps like papyrus crumpling. The scales shudder, resin quivers, but holds. 1 drop for remembrance, 2 for sleep without dreams. You wonder if she's selling scent or threats. Historians still argue whether priests added myrrh to mummy wraps for sanctity, or because it kept rats from nibbling the dead. Quirk. Some embalmers swore the resin whispered afterlife directions. You lean in here, only flies buzzing the brazier's edge. She flicks a spoon, your wrist catches molten gold. The burn's sweet, somehow, like licking a saint's tears. Your pupils flood with desert, dunes rolling under a heat-struck sky. Blink, the vision snaps. Her laugh cracks the air. Good, you're still here. Behind her, clay jars sweat resin under rags. One leaks onto packed earth, forming a bead darker than dried blood. You point. Wasting your wares, she shrugs. Ansel carry it underground. Better that tomb than some fat merchant's gut. You barter with silver, a seashell from Memphis, half a date. She takes the date. The myrrh comes wrapped in a strip of bandage, threads still stained with someone's final breath. Rub it on the left wrist, she advises. Rites for mourners, you're not there yet. As you turn, her hum follows, twisting into a beggar's hymn down the alley. The resin's musk clings like a second shadow. You imagine kings choking on this smell as linen tightened around their jaws. The night feels older now, heavier, as if every star above dabbed myrrh behind its ear. A drunk stumbles past, reeking of lotus and fermented figs. You press the vial to your nose. Bitter. Alive. Funny how eternity smells less like temples and more like a backstreet alchemist's den. The moon climbs. Somewhere, a dog howls at nothing or everything. You walk faster, half afraid the myrrh will start humming too. Moonlight bleeds through palm fronds, dappling alabaster jars along a stall draped in indigo. You pause, the myrrh's grip loosening as jasmine unfurls its sugar knife scent. A boy polishes flasks with gazelle hide, each swipe revealing constellations trapped in stone. Saffron from drowned ships, he murmurs, nodding to a vial swirling with sunset hues. 2 drachmas, or the button from a dead man's coat. You pocket the myrrh, suddenly gauche, and reach for a slender urn. Cold seeps into your palm, a shiver unrelated to night air. Inside floats a single serious blossom, its petals clawed open like a starved mouth. The perfumer who trained Cleopatra's tasters, favored night bloomers, claimed their oils revealed lies when dabbed on the tongue. A drop would have cost your ancestors a year's barley harvest. Now, you note the chipped rim, it's priced for drunkards and thieves. Smell this. The boy smears a paste across your wrist, ash and something musky. Nile crocodile glands crushed with roses. Fact, merchants added it to perfumes to mimic the sweat of gods. Your nose wrinkles. Smells like a wet wolf, he grins. Exactly. Pharaohs wore it to feasts, made their enemies' wine taste sour. Historians still argue whether Alexandrian perfumers encoded rebellion in their blends. A whiff of cedar meaning revolt, cinnamon signaling safe houses. You inhale again, catch salt, rot, lightning struck sand. Maybe a recipe, maybe last week's fish lunch. The boy leans close, eyes reflecting your dubious face. Free secret, his breath smells of candied beetles. Rub it on a doorframe. Spirits'll think it's a lion's den. You decline politely and drift toward baskets of dried petals. Their colors died hours ago, now just ghosts of ochre and rust. A vendor stirs them with a ibis-bone spoon, full moon special. She winks one pupil milky with trachoma. Lotus for lust, chamomile for lies, dogwood for, she pauses, squinting at your neck. Whatever's festering under that scarf. Bargaining requires 3 denials, 2 feigned exits, 1 veiled insult about her mother's recipe. You settle on saffron and shame. She throws in a vial of fermented tamarind for digestion. No one mentions the beetle legs floating inside. As coins change hands, her fingernails graze your palm, ridged as scarab shells. You resist the urge to wipe them on your tunic. The crowd thins, sellers become shadows shuffling, wares into hemp sacks. A drunk sprawls against a crumbling column, humming as he drips oil onto a stray dog's head. Citrus cure for mange, he slurs. The dog licks its fur, immediately gags. You step over them, past a cart spilling juniper berries like ground-up emeralds. Under a frayed awning, a girl grinds serious petals with a moonstone pestle. Her mortar whispers, crunch crunch, as rhythmless as a skipped heartbeat. She doesn't haggle, doesn't speak, just pushes a dish of sludge toward you, gray-green and throbbing with fireflies. When you sniff, your teeth ache. The scent is midnight's opposite, a scream disguised as lilacs. You buy it. Obviously, the jar warms as you walk, pulsing against your hip like a second liver. Above, stars smear across the sky, too many, too bright, as if the gods spilled their spice racks. Somewhere a lute snaps a string, the sour note hangs. You slick serious oil behind each ear, and for one breath, the market smells of nothing at all. Heat shimmers rise from a brazier, casting twin shadows that bicker like jackals. You pivot toward the commotion, 2 men fencing with open palms over a lump of amber. The taller one knows, studded with lappies, jabs a finger at its golden depths. Northern resin sealed in ice for 7 generations. His rival, a Nubian in wine-stained linen, snorts, burnt honey and tree sap. I'll carve you a scarab from this. It'll ooze by noon. True amber hails from Baltic shores, hauled down the Silk Road on camels fed opium-laced hay to mute their groans. This, you lean closer, bubbles swirl like trapped desert winds too perfect. The Nubian slaps the resin. Proof. A fossilized mosquito glares from its core, 6 intact legs splayed mid-bite. Historians still argue whether pharaonic auctions used coded perfume smells. Instead of bids, myrrh for yes, rotting lotus, for you insult my ancestors. Lappy's nose hisses a price through clenched teeth, his words silk-wrapped threats. The Nubian laughs, a sound like grinding malachite. He produces a clay tablet scored with notches. See, even the Hittites rejected your amber, called it Pharaoh's earwax. You smirk, Lappy's nose flushes, starts quoting trade laws from the 18th dynasty. Deals here pivot on 3 things: flattery about a man's donkey, mockery of his enemy's goats, accidental mentions of his sister's beauty. The Nubian feigns interest in a passing spice cart. Lappy's nose panics, offers the resin plus a vial of mystery musk pulled from his loin wrap. From the armpits of Amen's sacred baboon, he whispers. Baboon musk was prized, though temple records hint the glands actually came from sun-baked ibex hides. The Nubian sniffs the vial, winces. Smells like a mummy's sandal. Lappy's nose grabs your elbow. You tell him this scent opened Queen Te's tomb. His grip leaves sweat prints on your arm. Before you can lie, the Nubian shrugs, tosses a linen pouch heavy with lead coins. Lappy's nose hesitates, pockets it. The resin changes hands. They part without a glance, already rehearsing tomorrow's feud over frankincense grades. A henna'd palm appears under your nose. The Nubian's apprentice proffers the amber. For you, half price. Her voice drips conspiracy. The mosquito's abdomen glints faux gold. You counter with a button from your cloak. She frowns. Dehydrated scarab. Nightmare kit rule 43. When uncertain, invoke dead relatives. My aunt's dowry, you begin, raising a finger smudged with serious oil. She recoils, eyes watering. That stench. Take the resin, presses it into your palm. The amber's warmth feels alive. As you turn, her laughter follows sharp as a pharaoh's scorn. Rub it on a wound. Let's see if you weep, honey. The resin throbs, a slow, sticky heartbeat against your skin. Somewhere, a camel brays like a broken lyre. You pocket your prize, knowing full well it'll melt into glue by dawn. But hey, any artifact's real if it fuels a good lie at the next tavern. The Nubian winks as you pass, already polishing a lump of Komodo dragon amber for the next mark. Heat licks your neck as you drift toward the kilns, their bellies glowing like captured sunsets. A boy crouches in the ochre, dust his hands, slapping Nile mud into coils. Historians agree silt from annual floods gave Egyptian pottery its strength, though none mention the burnt chickpea stench. He glances up, smear of clay across his brow like war paint. Need a jar for your, his eyes dart to your resin-clutching fist. Melty treasure. The wheel creaks. A disk of wet earth spins into being. His thumbs dig the center, a motion unchanged since Pepi Ai's reign. Kilns here burn acacia, wood, imported tamarisk, reserved for royal amphory. You lean closer. They say Thutmose I's wine jars had ground scarab shells in the clay, made them glimmer. The boy snorts. Try dung beetles from the midden heap. Last batch cracked like crocodile smiles. He gestures to a pile of finished vessels, their shoulders rounded like sleeping children. One sports a lopsided ibis painted in hematite. Yours could have a falcon or a squid. Maybe your mother's face. His grin reveals a garnet-studded tooth, an unnerving flex for a mudslinger. The air thickens, not just from the kiln's breath. You catch whispers of natron and fermented figs. Ingredients, some fringe scholars claim strengthened Nile clay when added wet. The boy dips a reed brush in zebra milk slip. Want it inscribed, I'll throw in hieratic graffiti free. Historians still dispute whether pottery districts used coded markings for quality, 3 lotus petals for leaky, a zigzag for fires well in duet. Your jar begins to sag, its rim wilting like a drunkard's eyelid. The boy mutters a curse to Ta's forge. Flawed, you ask too innocently. He scoffs. Artisan's choice. Lets demons escape during firing. You want haunted wine. He hurls the lump back onto the pile. Clay slaps with a sound like wet linen. Embers spit from the kilns. Ma, a stray coal singes your sandal. The boy kicks a goatskin bellows. Flames roar like the Apis bull in mating season. Come back at moonrise, if Sobek doesn't claim you first. You toss him a debased Deben copper core, flaking off like acne. He bites it, leaves a fleck of mud on the snake cliff. Fair trade for gutter-grade wares. The clay on your palm dries tight, a second skin crackling with each step. As you retreat, heat still humming in your ear, the boy's laughter chases you. Pray to KH-Num. Maybe he'll fix your ugly jar. Smoke plumes twist into jackal shapes above the river, the kiln's hunger, never satisfied. Somewhere downstream, a pot shatters on cobblestones. Tomorrow's problem. Heat still clings to your sandals as you round the kilns, charcoal crunching like beetle shells underfoot. The smoke parts. A stall materializes where nothing stood yesterday. Cedar planks sag under alabaster vials, their stoppers oozing resin tears. She sits motionless, a silhouette cut from papyrus-thin skin. Milky eyes fixed on middle distance, nothing. Historians know Nile perfumers often went blind by 30 citrus acids and myrrh fumes eating their sight, but not their noses. You reach for a flask swirling with amber liquid. Her head snaps left, earrings clinking like miniature sistrums. Cedar from Lebanon, 3 parts oil of palm, 1 part tears. Her voice rasps, a reed dragged over shale. Touch the label, not the glass. Heat matters. Your fingertip brushes papyrus script, sticking to the vial. Pharaoh's embrace, acidic enough to strip tomb paint. Her nostrils flare pale as river snails. Men lie, sense don't. That one's for wrapping dead viziers. Keeps ghouls from licking the bandages. She dips a reed into 7 oils, each motion precise as a star clock's gears. Some fringe texts claim blind mixers used bats to test aromas, creatures who taste the dark. You hear wings rustle overhead, though it might just be palm fronds. Cinnamon from Punt, cut with crushed onyx to mute the sweetness. She trickles liquid into a clay crucible. Malachite dust for jealousy, iron filings for grief. Want them blended. Her hands hover waiting. Historians still argue whether love filters sold in markets matched temple records, or if priestesses doctored recipes to weaken their rivals. The air thickens, cardamom, and something musky, like a leopard's breath after eating honeycomb. You nod, forgetting she can't see. She smirks. Nod louder. A honey dipper traces your wrist, cold as a Ushabti's touch. 2/3 cedar, 1/3 rage. Pay extra, I'll spit in it for potency. Coins disappear into her linen sash, swallowed whole. She stirs the brew counterclockwise, murmuring names you half recognize. Bastet, Sekhmet, that healer priest who drowned in a vat of lily adder. The mixture hisses, releasing fumes that curl your eyelashes. She stops abrupt. Done. Rub it on enemies or doorframes. Even Anubis hesitates at this stink. The vial warms your palm, alive as a newborn scarab. Why cedar, you ask, testing. Her milky eyes narrow. Same reason they mummified your great ugly grandsires. Rots slower than fig wood. Outlasts empires and lovers. A donkey brays, iron bells jangling downriver. She tilts her head, counting each clang. Dawn caravans come early, you buying more, or just smelling my talent. Clay shatters somewhere, the careless boy's kiln, claiming another victim. She stills, nose quivering, 4 parts failure, 1 part ambition. That stench always sells. Her laugh crackles, a papyrus scroll crumbling in fire. You step back, vial clutched like a stolen amulet. She fades into the smoke, already blending something new. Your shadow stretches toward the river, suddenly heavy with secrets that'll outlive you. Dust coats your throat as camel bells shiver, their hollow clangs echoing across 5 generations of traders. Indigo-dyed sacks sag over humps, fabric so soaked with dye that stray drips stain the beasts, flanks blue. Historians map these routes by the mummy wrappings, stained lapis lazuli, telltale traces of long-dead merchants' wares. A driver spits date pits at your feet, his teeth crimson from chewing betel nut. Need coal from Memphis. Frankincense that'll make Ra's eyes water. He pats a sack, it coughs amber powder. Got Sumerian beer, 2 dregs from Ur's last tavern. You glimpse hoofprints fossilized in the mud below, perfect crescents from beasts extinct before the first pyramid's cornerstone. Some caravans still follow paths marked by camel skulls, sun-bleached jaws pointing north like compasses. A young camel lows, its cry vibrating at a pitch that loosens your molars. Traders swear certain notes make the beasts march faster. Musicologists argue it's the hum of their own tendons. This one's groan syncs with your headache, a primal duet. Careful with that. A woman snatches your sleeve as you reach for a tilting crate. Papyrus scrolls spill, tax records from a drowned city. She hisses, rebinding them with fingers stained like a scribe's. Letters to dead pharaohs, they bite when mishandled. Indigo trickles into the sand, forming sapphire puddles that mirror the darkening sky. You crouch, the smell punches you fermented leaves and crushed mollusks. Tyrian purples stink ruined whole neighborhoods in Rome. But Egypt's dyers learned to mask it with myrrh. The lead camel halts, nostrils flaring at a scatter of bones. Cayenne, barks the beetle-chewing driver, yanking its nose ring. Superstitious brute still smells the leopards that ate her dam. He spits again, a ruby splat on ivory ribs. Historians still argue whether pack camels carried over 300 pounds, or if chroniclers exaggerated to please tax-hungry kings. The truth sags before you, spines curved like question marks under indigo's weight. A sack splits, cinnamon sticks cascading like kindling. The driver curses in a tongue older than hieroglyphs, words that make the scroll woman cover her ears. You pocket a bark fragment. Its sweetness clings, despite centuries, in some sun-baked tomb. Lost your caravan. A boy offers a waterskin liquid sloshing, thick as syrup. You sip pomegranate molasses cut with well water. His forearm bears scarred numerals, 7 slashes for 7 trips across the sands. They say the desert drinks more men than the Nile. Bells resume a dissonant chorus. One camel licks its blue-stained leg, a drugged calm in its eyes. Caravan lore whispers of opiate balms rubbed on raw hides, enough to make a beast walk till its heart bursts. Dust devils spiral near the horizon, miniature sandstorms, imitating the great desert's tantrums. You tighten your scarf, a gift from that linen seller who hid love notes in his seams. Too late, grit finds your molars, crunching like the bones underfoot. The scroll woman now chants, soft harmonics meant to still restless camels. Melodies drift, an old song about a merchant who bartered his shadow for an extra hour of moonlight. Her voice cracks on the high notes. The beetle man snorts. Ignore her last season. A sandstorm stole her sister. Now she serenades dunes, hoping they'll sing back. He kicks a pottery shard, its curve perfect for scrying. If you believe in thirsty ghosts, your vial of Pharaoh's embrace warms against your hip. Its cedar sharpness cutting through the molasses stink. You wonder what the blind perfumer would make of this stench symphony. Bet she'd bottle it as essence of poor life choices. The camels ascend a dune, each step sinking deeper. Indigo drips mark their trail, a breadcrumb path for the next fool dreaming of Lappy's riches. You follow feet sliding backward as the market's last lights drown in dust. The dune crumbles underfoot, spilling you onto a shoreline where papyrus reeds sway like drunken scribes. Frogs croak from hidden pockets, a raspy chorus tuning up as stars pierce the water's skin. Their throats puff, silver moonbellies flashing, each croak precisely timed to the Nile's slurp against mudbanks. Archaeologists say these marshes birthed the first Nilometers, flood measuring steps etched with hieroglyphs older than Memphis. But tonight, the river's song needs no translation. A fisherman's drum pulses across the water, 3 quick taps, too slow. The frogs adjust their tempo, nature's backup singers grudgingly syncing with human rhythm. You count 19 reed boats tied to wooden posts, their hulls scarred by hippo teeth and tax collector seals. A boy scoops silt into a jar. Ancient Egyptians believed annual floods deposited the tears of Isis. His mother would have slapped him for wasting good mud pie material, careful of the love-struck ones. A boatman nods at 2 frogs entwined near your sandal. Their embrace, so tight their spines, form a heart-shaped lump. Get stepped on mid-croak, you'll be cursed with their passion. Eternal yearning, terrible for business. He spits into the Nile, a ritual older than superstition. You bend to inspect the amulet around his ankle, a tiny frog carved from carnelian. For fertility, he barks a laugh, a sound like rocks in a clay pot. For luck, evading crocodiles, fertility's overrated. His gaze flicks to a woman mending nets downstream, fingers flying faster than her blush. Water swirls around your ankles, cool despite the day's heat, trapped in every drop. Historians still argue whether ceremonial stones found in the river were musical instruments or just pharaohs, paperweights gone rogue. The boatman's oar disturbs the surface, ripples transforming moonlight into liquid hieroglyphs. You'll want this. He tosses a lotus pod, its seed cavities packed with resin. Rub it on your wrists, keeps biting flies off. Also works on ex-lovers. The scent bursts under your thumb, green and vengeful. You've smelt it worse at the perfume market. Papyrus leaves rasp above, a sound like skeletons shaking dice. The boatman hums a tune about a crocodile who fell for a heron, star-crossed, short-lived, delicious, a real crowd pleaser at funerals. You lean over the prow, your reflection fractures into 1,000 rippling U's. None look impressed. He points to a submerged staircase, crumbling limestone steps mossed black. Nilometer. Priests measured flood levels. Here, high water meant high taxes. Funny how that worked. A frog splashes, its kerplunk echoing off the stones. Still measuring, he mutters. Still taxing. The reeds part, revealing a firefly swarm over still water. Their glow stains the surface, an eerie gold, a scene too pretty to trust. Boatman's superstition kicks in. He makes the sign against evil eye. The fireflies dart away, leaving only the drumbeat and a wet, clinging silence. You scrape resin from the lotus pod. It strings between your fingers like edible amber. Somewhere downstream, a drunk merchant's lute tangles with the frogs' chorus, an experimental jazz fusion, missing only a theremin. The boatman wrinkles his nose. Rich folks' noise. Give me honest croaks any night. A fish leaps, its scales glinting like a discarded crown. Plops back down with a sound like a pharaoh dropping sarcophagus lid. The splash wakes a heron, its indignant squawk silencing 3 logs worth of frogs. Even nature has critics. Keep that. The boatman nods at your half-empty lotus pod. Way my wife's nagging tonight. I'll need 10 more. He reaches under his bench, pulls out a jug smelling of fermented figs. Offers it without a word. The first sip tastes like rebellion, the second like poor decisions. Drumming fades as you round a bend, replaced by the hiss of water through irrigation ditches. The boatman's shoulders relax. Smarter frogs here know when to shut up. He moors at a dock warped by floods, its planks nailed down with religiosity and rusty copper. You step ashore, mud squelching, promises it'll claim your sandals by dawn. He presses a clay token into your palm, embossed with a frog mid-leap. Show this at the Mudbrick Tavern. They'll water down your beer less. A pause, less than usual. Frogs resume their concert upstream, a new movement featuring aggressive rivets and one dubious splash. The boatman rows away, humming that damned crocodile dirge. You pocket the token. Doubting frogs grasp the concept of irony. But unsure enough to tread lightly, the mud releases your sandals with a wet gasp, sucking you toward a stall draped in cloth the color of dried blood. A merchant crumbles crimson threads into a vial, fingers stained yellow as a scribe's papyrus. Each saffron stigma lands like molten gold sinking through oil. Your nostrils flare honey, earth, the metallic tang of something too expensive to spill. Turns out Cleopatra's favorite lip stain wasn't crushed beetles. It was this. Historians confirm she dumped a gallon of the stuff into her bath before meeting Caesar. Probably why he forgot to conquer Egypt properly. 7 barley cakes per thread, the perfumer says, not looking up. His scales wobble bronze pans crusted with resin from 30 seasons of haggling. You do the math. 1 sniff costs more than your donkey. A teenage apprentice sweeps fallen saffron dust into a jar. Street rumor says temple acolytes snorted for visions. His twitchy eyes suggest market testing. A caravan guard looms behind you, armor sweating, rust onto his linen shirt. Wife's birthday, he grunts, eyeing the vial. Either this or another concubine. The merchant smirks, drops a single thread onto the guard's calloused palm. Rub it behind your ears. She'll beg to be the concubine. Coins clink, a sound mournful as a losing bet. Bees swarm the stall drawn by rogue pollen. The apprentice waves a palm frond. Their buzzing harmonizes with the merchant's mortar and pestle. Crushed stigmas release a scent so dense you could spread it on bread. Archaeologists found traces of saffron in Tutankhamun's linens, debating whether it preserved his corpse or just made the embalmer sneeze. The answers scritching inside your nose, sharp as a hieroglyphic chisel. Taste. The merchant dips a reed into the oil. You hesitate, knowing half the world's saffron once passed through a single Cretan port. His smile widens. Fear not, no Minoan tariffs here. The flavor blooms fire and sunlight distilled into a throatful of paradox, sweetness that bites, luxury that starves. You suddenly understand why priests poured it onto altar flames, better burned than shared. Tourists crowd closer, Roman sandals and Nubian beads. The merchant adopts his holy ritual voice, pitching the oil as Aphrodite's sweat and Ra's morning breath. A Greek mutters about Persian imports, inciting a linguistics duel over the word crocus. Historians still argue whether Macedonian troops planted saffron across Asia or just stole enough to season their mutton. The guard slips away, wisdom outweighing valor tonight. Dust devils swirl, kicking up saffron husks. The apprentice stamps them flat, a futile ballet. Sunset gilds the stall, turning the merchant's robes to dried blood. You linger, inhaling air worth more than your entire voyage. Somewhere upstream, a drunk starts singing about roses. The merchant rolls his eyes. Philistine. His pestle strikes the mortar, a bronze bell tolling the death of subtlety. A drop of oil spatters your wrist. You resist licking it barely. The merchant notices, tosses a linen scrap with the grace of a bored deity. For the antidote. His wink suggests it's not free. You wipe your skin. The stain lingers like a lover's promise. Faint, expensive, itching to be misunderstood. Cicadas throttle their evening dirge. The apprentice lights a beeswax candle. Flame glints off 100 stolen thread tips. The merchant's retirement fund. You turn to leave. Wait. He flicks a stigma into your palm. An emperor's ransom balanced on fate. Tell the boatman his wife prefers jasmine. The thread pulses red as a heartbeat, gold as betrayal. You walk away richer and infinitely poorer than before. The widow's veil flutters, a moth wing grazing your elbow. You freeze her fingers already closing yours around a vial fogged with age. 12 floods old, she croons, voice cracked like glaze on terracotta. The glass warms, as if holding residual heat from her wedding night. Historians note rose oil's use in mummification, but this reeks of muskier things. Unwashed hair, wine-damp sheets, salt-crusted horizons. Her thumb brushes your pulse. Pharaohs paid 10 slaves for this batch. You inhale, decay trickles down your throat. It's not rose, it's roses drowned in brine. Burial chambers, tears sipped from cheeks. That time, you licked a tide pool as a child. Street scholars claim widows aged oils with their breath, each sigh fermenting the blend. Her exhale hits your wrist, dates and sour milk. A drunk stumbles into the stall, canvas sacks heavy with garlic. She hisses a sound that resurrects dead languages. He flees, leaving boot prints in spilled cumin. Lout, she mutters, adjusting her veil, thinks mourning requires silence. Her laugh rasps, a frog trapped in a beer jug. Experts found rose residue in Amarna period lip balms, still battling over whether it was cosmetic or currency. You're voting for spite. Coins materialize in your palm. How? The vial costs 3 goats or your left sandal. Her eyes dart, following invisible flies. Take it. My husband's 3rd wife cursed the blend. She leans closer, stale lavender and onion. She died screaming. Makes the scent complex. Historians still argue whether noblewomen drank rose oil before tombs were sealed, or if that's just tavern tailies from lonely excavators. The answer's squirming in your fist. You uncork the vial, an iguana-tail flick of anticipation. She slaps your hand, liquid sloshes, doesn't spill. Not here. Her nails leave crescents, matching ones carved into the stall's edge. They'll smell weakness. 12 veiled figures shift nearby, draped in what might be linen or cobwebs. A toddler sucks his thumb, staring at the vial like it stole his name. Moth wings thrash inside your ribs. She wipes the cork, grief made her methodical. Rub it here. Her fingertip hovers over your jugular. Men will weep. Women will loan you knives. The oil coats your skin, sticky as psalm scrolls. Salt crystallizes behind your molars. You recall Alexandria's perfume riots, tourists trampling merchants for bergamot balm. This is quieter, deadlier. Her daughter appears 8 years old and already a widow's mirror. She offers tamarind slices arranged on a lotus leaf. Eat. The bite helps. The fruit's tang battles the oil's musk. Your tongue becomes a war chronicle. Archaeologists found similar leaves in Hatshepsut's trash pits. Proof even queens needed snacks between intrigues. The girl's stare says she knows. Shadows lengthen. The widow's veil drinks dusk. She folds your fingers over the vial, a priest sealing a sarcophagus. Say his name at midnight, or don't. Her shrug costs extra. You're certain she hawked this same brew to Caesar's mistress, maybe Caesar. Why not? Grief's the Nile. Everyone drowns equally. Bats swoop, snatching dung beetles mid-roll. A drop of oil slides into your sleeve. 15 years evaporated. You're 16 stealing pomegranates from a crusader's tomb. Or 70, blinded by cataracts and camel piss. Time collapses, rose and rot are the same note here. She melts into the crowd, veil fluttering like surrender. The vial burns your palm, a widow's last heirloom. You consider hurling it into the Nile. Instead, you tuck it beside the saffron thread. Let them duel in the dark. Laughter erupts, a sailor's chased by harbor dogs. The widow's stall stands empty, only an amulet in the dust. Copper, warm, shaped like a woman swallowing stars. You pocket it, fee for services rendered. Somewhere, a drop of rose oil slides down a statue's cheek. Only ibises witness it. The amulet throbs against your thigh, a stolen heartbeat keeping pace with your steps. Shadows congeal into shapes too lean for honest work. A jug shatters, clay meeting stone with wet indifference. Guards doze by cumin sacks, their spears propped like afterthoughts. Dogs snarl, muzzles glinting with stolen grease. Their barks stitch the dark into patchwork threads. Market hounds earned double rations during flood season. Reports from Karnak Temple confirm it. One lunges, chain yanking its collar into a meaty choke. Its target, a figure cloaked in rotten linen, too many elbows, not enough teeth. You sidestep a puddle shimmering with spilled oil. A hand grazes your belt, fingers nimble as scarab legs. The amulet burns, would-be thief recoiling like touched flame. Bad luck, he spits, voice crumbling like mud brick. His partner whistles 3 notes that mean abort or apricots, depending on dialect. Wise vendors marked crates with baboon piss. Papyrus tax records mention the stench deterrent. Tonight's thieves wear corked vials of their own sour musk wafting from their sashes. They argue over a moon-silvered jug, hisses about Nubian glass versus Cypriot clay. Historians still argue whether these night markets doubled as smuggling routes, or if that's just wishful thinking from tomb robbers' diaries. A dog's yelp pierces the haggling, its tail crushed under a rolling amphora. Guards stir, snorting like drunk hippos. The thieves melt into date cellar alleys, the jug left, spinning like a child's top. You crouch, fingertips finding the vessel still whole. Cool to the touch, sticky, with fig wine or blood. Your mother warned you about nights like this. Two boys dart past, their laughter brasher than their beards. One clutches a hen's egg dyed indigo, prized in love spells, worthless at dawn. The other licks honey from a broken seal royal insignia, blurred to a golden smear. Palace guards will blame jackals. Again, a woman grabs your wrist, her grip fever-hot. They're using distraction ploys. Oldest trick in the Book of the Dead. Her eyes dart, tracking shadows you can't see. Last week, they made off with embalmer's entire salt stash, left a mocking scarab in its place. She releases you, vanishing into the reek of curring hides. The jug warms in your hands, humming like a sealed tomb. You rub thumb over glaze, Cypriot after all. Too valuable to abandon, too cursed to keep. Your sandal grinds a pistachio shell. The crunch echoes louder than it should. Guards finally rouse, spears clattering like copper teeth. A howl pierces the din, primal enough to stiffen your scalp. Not jackal, not hound, human or what's left of one. The market stills, even the dogs mute. Then a donkey's indignant bray ruptures the pause. Life sloshes back into the crowd, thicker, saltier, anxious. You tuck the jug under your arm, ready to bargain or bolt. Something clinks inside, 7 bronze rings. Scorpions. A seller of funerary masks leers, teeth stained with pomegranate. 16 deben, and I'll bless it for you. His thumb circles a Horus amulet, poorly cast, likely lead. The first thief reappears, now missing a sandal. He nods at your stolen prize. 30 deben. Final offer. His breath reeks of leek stew and desperation. You pretend to consider counting the cracks in his sunburnt lips. Historians love parsing these nocturnal hagglings, as if haggling scrolls explain how empires crumble. Guards belatedly shout their threats limp from interrupted naps. You pivot, slipping behind a wobbling tower of papyrus rolls. The jug knocks your ribs, each step sloshing secrets against clay. Somewhere, a baker's wife chases a flour thief with a heating iron. Somewhere, a cat licks wine from the broken jug you didn't take. Dawns a rumor here hours off. But already, the thieves grow sloppy. One drops a lappy's pendant, its gold setting cold against your instep. You kick it into open sewer runoff. Let the Nile decide its fate. The amulet pulses, approving or complaining. It's hard to tell. A child's wail splits the air, fake, but artful. You keep walking. So do the guards. The market's oldest lesson. Real distress smells like wet ash and unspun flax. Everything else is theater. The jug grows heavier, its contents singing a thin, metallic whine. You pass a potter sculpting counterfeit ushabtis, his thumbs red from hurried kiln grabs. He glances up, eyes reflecting your stolen burden. They'll follow you home, he murmurs. Better to smash it now. You tighten your grip, aware of footsteps syncing with yours. Not a thief, not a guard. The night itself, maybe hungry and patient. Stars blur above, ancient light smeared by smoke and scheming. Two drunks collapse into a fig cart, fruit bursting under their weight. The vendor howls, a rare, genuine sound. You use the chaos to duck into a dyer's tent, indigo, vats exhaling midnight breath. The jug's hum fades, stifled by the stench of fermented urine. Outside, boots pause, retreat. The dyer's daughter giggles, a smear of woad on her cheek. Hide it under the mordant vat, she whispers, eats magic for breakfast. You obey, the jug disappearing under a crusting bronze cauldron. Her price, 3 cloves, and a lie about your birthplace. Emerging, the market feels lighter. Crickets resume their gossip. A one-eared cat rubs your shin, purring like a poorly greased axle. You toss it a stolen date. Watch fangs make quick ruin of sweetness. The guards stumble past, dragging a thief too young for his scars. His loot, a single cedar comb missing 8 teeth. You press a coin into his palm before they round the corner, a habit that'll get you killed before 30. Walking east, the amulet cools against your leg. Behind you, the dyer's daughter smashes the jug against a well's rim. A sound like deferred consequence, like luck changing its mind. You don't look back. Survival tip number 73. Never witness the aftermath of your own mercy. The scribe's table appears, a mirage of order in the chaotic dark. Papyrus scrolls roll sideways into the dirt. He writes by a single oil lamp, flame reflected in his ink-stained spectacles. Frankincense resin bubbles in a bronze censer, temple incense. So precious pharaohs traded Nubian gold for it. You pause, fingertips hovering over a half-written marriage contract. The reed pen freezes mid-glyph. That'll cost you, he croaks, voice parched from dictating wills. His index finger taps an ibis feather dangling overhead, symbol of Thoth, god of scribes. The feathers molting. Historians still argue whether scribes preferred barter over coin. The answers written in ledgers eaten by silverfish long ago. He nudges a clay dish holding rust-colored ink. Lump of resin buys 10 lines, flawless grammar included. You glance at his latest work, a shipping manifest for Lotus oil. Hieratics slump like drunk soldiers. His thumb smudges a numeral adds an extra 0 with practiced ease. For export taxes, creative accounting keeps the gears oiled. Frankincense smoke curls around your wrist, taking notes. You mention needing a curse tablet, just hypothetically. For a friend, his nostrils flare the scent of opportunity. Curses are extra, requires fresh ibis blood and 3 broken oaths. Moonlight glints on his scalp, a bald patch worn smooth from leaning over desks. He opens a cedar box, parchment, scraps whispering with half-finished hexes. One fragment bears your mother's name. You pretend not to see. The pen resumes scratching, beetle-leg hieroglyphs, marching toward the papyrus edge. Wax pellets melt over a brazier, their stink masking the frankincense. He dribbles golden droplets onto a sealed scroll. The imprint shows a scarab, missing 2 legs, his personal seal. Had a priestess in here yesterday, he mutters. Wanted love spells in 7 languages. Settled for threatening her ex in Demotic. He licks a stylus tip, gags on whatever ancient glue coats it. A warped shelf creaks behind him, stacked with rejected quills. Owl feathers, vulture barbs, one suspiciously human femur fragment. His ink smells of fermented donkey sweat, a recipe calling for crushed beetle shells and spite. You commission a harmless sigil, protection against scorpions. He snorts. Scorpions are honest creatures, better to ward off tax collectors. The pen flies, carving a Bess hieroglyph overlaid with crossed spears. There, the sting of bureaucracy neutralized. Frankincense ash snows onto the contract. He doesn't brush it off, just writes through the grit. Tradition claims writing through ash pleases the goddess Seshat. His version likely pleases whoever pays him extra. The lamp sputters, wick drowning in cheap oil. He curses in 3 dialects, veins bulging like overstuffed scroll cases. You offer a palm-sized resin chunk. His indignation softens to a grumble. Fine, but I'm omitting the honorifics. Night traders claim scribes whisper spells into documents. An extra fee ensures favorable terms with crocodile gods. You watch his lips. They're mouthing grocery lists. He blows on fresh ink. Your receipt floats sideways into the dust. Come back at dawn. I'll have that curse tablet polished and lethal. You decline. Politely. The amulet thrums. It remembers last time you dabbled in written vengeance. Stars pivot overhead, the market's heartbeat slowing. A drunk leans on the scribe's table, belches a vowel-rich proclamation. The scribe transcribes it verbatim, charges double for lyricism. You pocket the scorpion ward, papyrus, already sticking to your sweat. A shout erupts from the wine stalls. The scribe doesn't look up. 3rd fight tonight. They'll resolve it with a punctuation contest, semicolons at 20 paces. His joke dies as guards march past, their sandals kicking up receipt scraps. One pauses, eyeing the ibis feather. The scribe tucks it under his sash. Relic of my faith, he lies. The guard moves on, too tired for theology. Silence settles, thick as papyrus pulp. He removes his spectacles, rubs a stain that's been there since the last flood season. They say Alexander's scribes wrote his edicts in honey, so rats would eat the evidence. His grin reveals a missing molar. Modern problems require ancient solutions. You ask about the femur quill. He hesitates, blows lamp soot from its tip. Belonged to a census taker. Heart gave out mid-tally. He tests its edge on his forearm, leaves a glyph-shaped welt. His ghost still chases round numbers. Distant donkeys bray the market, shedding its skin toward dawn. The scribe packs his inks, cobalt, ochre, a dubious green. His hands tremor, too many years holding stories, hostage for resin and flattery. Tomorrow, he says, though tomorrow's ledgers will smell the same. Bring better incense. And a case of those Semitic verbs everyone's suddenly using. You nod, walking east as his lamp gutters. Behind you, Wax seals harden, contracts bind. Lies set. The amulet pulses once, approving of pragmatism over written curses. You touch the scorpion ward, already fraying at the edges. Survival tip number 88. Never trust a scribe who works past the third watch. Their loyalty bleeds ink, not blood. 3 sets of hands yank you sideways, giggles ricocheting like dropped copper pots. Festival prices. Choruses a girl with henna-streaked hair. Her companions steer you toward a stall sagging under clay amphory, each labeled with crudely painted hearts. The air clots with gardenia's creamy rasp. A scent Egyptian brides once dabbed behind their ears to signal readiness. Historians still argue whether it functioned as an aphrodisiac or just covered up the fact everyone smelled like fermented onion soup. You protest half-hearted as they slather oil on your wrist. Musk from Nubian civets, announces the shortest girl. Her lie gleams like the sweat on her brow. The truth, house cats. Lots of house cats. A mummified tabby glares from the stall's shadow, its contribution to perfumery, now eternal. This one's infused with crocodile tears, says the third girl, dangling a vial of murky liquid, guaranteed to make husbands weep at your beauty. Her wink suggests alternative applications. Nile newlyweds did once rub reptile musk into their veils, but modern recreations skip the 2 a.m. swamp excursions. They swarm, dabbing your collarbone with unguents that promise undying passion and or mild rashes. Feel this, presses one, smearing a balm that tingles like ants marching under your skin. You recall Cleopatra's alleged aphrodisiac, a blend of crushed pearls and wolfsbane. Death and dowries, always a romantic combo. The stall owner materializes, a matron whose coal-lined eyes miss nothing. The full bridal bundle, she insists, thrusting a basket of vials at your ribs. Lotus for fertility, myrrh for patience, coriander because his mother will visit weekly. Her laugh rattles a wind chime made of hollowed scarabs. You glance at the exit. The henna-haired girl blocks it, arms crossed like a miniature sphinx. Negotiations cascade, a ritual older than the pyramids. You counteroffer with half a jar of cedar resin. She feigns offense, hands clutched to her chest. You wound me. These oils charmed the wife of Rameses himself. The cat mummy coughs up a dust ball. Fine 3 resin lumps and a favor ode. They anoint your palms with something labeled desert mirage, smelling suspiciously of fried dough and regret. Rub this on his sandals, whispers the matron. He'll follow you like a starved jackal. You pocket it, just in case the scribe's curse backfires. As you retreat, the youngest girl tugs your sleeve. Watch for scorpions, she murmurs too earnestly. Her palm reveals a stolen vial of saffron oil, its price tag hastily scratched off. You accept it, silence purchased with complicity. Lamplight gilds the stall's crumbling sign. Happy marriages made here since 1347 BCE. The matron waves her ringed fingers, catching moonlight like looted treasure. Somewhere downstream, a bridal party chants voices fraying under the weight of floral garlands. You inhale gardenia's ghost, its sweetness already curdling into tomorrow's perfume hangover. The gardenia clings to your robes like a jealous lover. As you escape, its sweetness now clashing with wood smoke from braziers downwind. A stooped figure tends a copper bowl where riverweed smolders, charred tendrils twisting like eels in agony. Catfish bones litter his stall, some strung on hemp cords, others ground into chalky powder. You recognize the stench of curring Nile mud, thick and vegetal, from those jars sealed with bitumen upstream. Best glue this side of Memphis, rasps the fisherman, his forearms scaled with dried river silt. He prods the bowl's contents, smoke coiling around a charm made of ibis feathers and rust. 1 jar keeps your papyrus intact. 2 jars keep your secrets safer than a pharaoh's tomb. Historians still argue whether olden scribes actually used fish oil glue or just enjoyed the excuse to loiter near wine shops. You point to a jar crusted with ochre stains, its rim less gummy than the others. He snorts, a sound like water choking a reedy pipe. Clever choice. That batch skimmed fat from a Menhotep's favorite fishing hole. His wink suggests either royal lineage or superb salesmanship. Nile fishermen did supply temples with sacred catches, though priestly menus omitted the beer breath details. Bargaining requires 3 offers and 1 fake departure. You proffer a silver ring pilfered during that bridal stall chaos. He counters with a demand for your sandal straps to mend my nets. Compromise tastes of 7 coppers and a promise to spread rumors about his hip-repellent balm. As he wraps the jar, a dried frog plops into the bundle. Gift from the river, he mutters, avoiding eye contact. Some delta families still stash mummified amphibians in walls to ward off floods, a fact you'll appreciate next monsoon. The least sticky jar feels suspiciously light. You tilt it. A single catfish vertebrae rattles inside. Before protests form, he thrusts the copper bowl toward you, acrid smoke stinging your nostrils. Breathe deep, helps forget any discrepancies in weight. Laughter erupts from a dockside tavern. Its owner famously adds fermented juniper to date wine. You pocket the jar, its contents already seeping through the linen wrap. The fisherman spits into the river, a ritual older than the Sphinx's nose. Across the water, a moonlit barge tilts, its cargo of lotus flowers sliding into the hungry dark. Smoke still stings your eyes as you retreat from the fisherman's stall, only to collide with a clay jug clutched by a grinning vendor. His teeth gleam unnaturally white against skin-stained pistachio green from decades of handling malachite pigments. Dusk wine. He croons, pressing the vessel into your hands before you protest. Stolen from a banquet where Cleopatra's cousin once vomited into the same cup. Fig and cinnamon punch your throat, sweeter than temple offerings, but laced with a kick like a startled donkey. You cough, half the liquid splashing onto your already reeking robe. Fig wine ferments in clay amphory for 3 floods. You've seen scribes sip it during the Opet festival, while they cheered chariot races. This batch tastes suspiciously like vanilla. Vanilla hadn't reached Egypt until Roman times, a fact you're too tipsy to explain as the vendor winks. Lanterns warp into pulsing amber blurs, each flame multiplying like fireflies trapped in honey. The crowd sways, merchants and barterers, now moving with the syncopated grace of drunk ibises. A camel belches close enough to mist your face with fermented hay breath. They float spices on the wine to mask questionable sources. Whispers a passing jeweler, her lapis lazuli earrings clinking like miniature wind chimes. Last moon, they found a whole mouse in the vat. You take another swig. 2 jugglers materialize, tossing sun-dried dates instead of torches. One fruit smacks a bald priest's oiled scalp with a wet thwap. Laughter erupts, sharp and metallic, as if the sound's been filtered through cheap tin. Historians still argue whether sunset markets sold wine by the cup or only in sealed jars for temple offerings. Right now, you trade a scarab amulet for answers. The vendor refills your cup unasked, his thumbprint baked into the clay's underside. They say this vintage once loosened Nefertiti's tongue during trade talks. He leans closer, reeking of coriander and poor decisions. She demanded Babylonian silk trousers for her entire court. Scandalized 3 viziers. Cinnamon coats your teeth, gritty as desert sand. Some say cinnamon stirred clockwise prevents drunken visions, though your spinning head questions their logic. A potter's child tugs your sleeve, offering a discount. Lotus garland, already shedding petals. Behind her, an argument blooms over resin quality, voices slurred enough to turn threats into love confessions. You sit or collapse onto a stack of frayed reed mats. The stars drip across the sky, liquid silver poured by an unsteady hand. A baker's apprentice trips over your outstretched legs, his tray of honeycakes cartwheeling into a pyramid of unguent jars. The resulting stench of smashed myrrh and clover honey almost sobers you. Almost. Hold this. The wine vendor thrusts a jug between your knees, already scurrying to exploit the commotion. Drums thud in the distance. Or maybe it's your heartbeat fog-horning through cinnamon-fogged veins. The moon swims above a drunken pearl, rolling across lapis lazuli. When you finally stand, the ground tilts like a funerary barge, navigating underworld rapids. Your sandal squelches on something unspeakable. The wine vendor's laughter follows you, tinny and persistent, as you weave toward shadows less likely to offer free refills. Fig pulp clings to your chin, sticky testament to a trade deal Cleopatra's cousin would've endorsed. The fig pulp cracks like dried blood on your chin as you stumble past shuttered stalls, each step crunching unseen debris. A low wail slices through the wine haze, a sound raw as stripped papyrus. You follow it to a stall lit by a single clay lamp, its flame guttering in a bowl of rancid oil. A man hunches over the counter, sandals caked in grit that glitters faintly under the sickly light. Tomb dust. You've seen enough embalming workshops to recognize the chalky residue of excavated burial chambers. His hands tremor, scattering silver coins across the perfumer's table. Myrrh, he rasps, and ash from your oldest tree. The perfumer, a gaunt woman with cheekbones sharp enough to slice lotus stems, nods. She uncorks a vial darker than midnight, pours a drop onto a bronze mirror. It oozes, thick and reluctant, as if mourning its own displacement. Myrrh flowed through every stage of Egyptian death rites, from embalming cuts to sealing tomb doors. This batch reeks of secrets, even the book of the dead left unwritten. Sycamore ash, she murmurs, scooping black powder from an alabaster urn. Harvested during the tears of Isis. Historians still argue whether tears of Isis referred to the Nile, flood's first rise, or a specific star's alignment. The mourner doesn't care. He's already fumbling with a leather pouch shaped like a scarab's wing. You lean closer, wine-stupid, as she blends the myrrh and ash. The mixture hisses, releasing fumes that numb your nostrils. A funeral recipe, and not a gentle one. Some embalmers swore that shadows clinging to tomb walls were actually smoke from such potent brews. The mourner slaps more coins down, a silver bess amulet clattering among them. Bless it. His voice fractures. The perfumer closes her eyes, presses the vial between skeletal palms. Her lips move without sound, invoking gods. Even priests avoid naming at dusk. You catch a flicker of distaste in her grimace. Punts Myrrh versus Arabian. There's a regional debate. Perfumers murder each other over in back alleys. Tomb dust swirls around your ankles, each particle weighted with whispers. You've read about grieving families chewing frankincense resin to absorb fragments of the dead's departing spirit. Maybe this man licks ash from his fingers. Maybe he'll smear it on lintels to bar ghosts from visiting. Maybe he's the ghost. The perfumer spits 3 times into the dust, each globule sizzling like fat in a brazier. A protective hex or bad digestion. The mourner grabs his vial, fleeing into shadows so thick they could drown ibises. He'll be back by dawn. The perfumer scrubs her hands with natron, the abrasive scrub of salt and regret. They always return for the bitterer blends. Henbane, poppy tears, things that burn holes in memory. A donkey brays in the distance, its cry echoing down corpse-black alleys. You touch your own throat, half expecting to find it coated in ash. The perfumer eyes you, a vulture gauging meat's freshness. You need sleeping drafts. I've balms that'll knock Sobek himself into a year's slumber. You decline, stepping over a puddle, shimmering with oil and starlight. Behind you, her clay lamp dies with a sigh. The dark feels heavier now, saturated with unsold grief and backroom incantations. Somewhere, a widow burns time to summon dreams of her baker's hands. Somewhere, a childless mother buries an empty ointment jar. Your sandal grinds against a forgotten amulet, Bess's leering face, now etched with fractures. You pocket it, a talisman against whatever brews in the cooled ashes of tonight's transactions. You turn a corner, silk snaps like ghost sails above your head. A man laughs, the sound rasping through his salt-crusted beard. You walk like someone who's lost their shadow, he says, fingers dancing over scarves, dyed the exact blue of a kingfisher's throat. His stall groans under sandalwood jars, each carved with lotus blossoms that shouldn't grow this far east. You recognize the cedar-striped grain of wood from distant valleys, timber, so precious pharaohs lined burial chambers with it. Merchants hauled these fragrant logs up the Red Sea coast, camels dying of thirst under their sweet rot. Feel this, he insists, thrusting a scarf into your palm. The silk slithers cool as a snake shedding its skin. Real Chinese mulberry silk. Historians confirm Egypt traded lapis lazuli for bolts of it as early as the Middle Kingdom. You half expect it to dissolve like spiderwebs touched by dawn. His obsidian beads click, each one polished to mirror the stars. Where one, diseased spirits hate reflections. An old Anatolian superstition, guides still bury shiny pebbles near sickbeds today. You spot tiny glyphs etched into the stone, too small for any chisel. Moth wings, ant mandibles. He leans in, saffron and cardamom bleeding from his pores. 30 Deben for the sandalwood, pure Mysore stock. The Hindush merchants, he spits dirt speckling his vowels. Mix sawdust with cinnamon bark. I bleed honor. A child runs past, her mud-crusted feet skimming the ground like swallows. The trader's face softens, flickering into something almost paternal. He tosses her a date sticky and squashed from a pouch at his belt. She catches it midair, grinning through a mouthful of missing teeth. You lift a jar lid, sandalwood's smoky sweetness pools in your sinuses. Perfect for temple incense or masking the stench of sun-bloated corpses. Historians still argue whether sandalwood's use in mummification was practical or purely symbolic. The trader slaps your hand, playful, but his nails leave half-moon dents in your wrist. This one's spoken for, he growls, pointing to faded henna marks circling the jar's neck. Marriage symbols, protection sigils. The design resembles a leashed ibis, its beak snapped shut. He won't elaborate, just winks and taps his nose. Reaching under the stall, he pulls out a smaller vial. Milky liquid swirls inside, suspended with flecks of gold leaf. Night bloom nectar, he purrs. Rumor says Cleopatra wore it when meeting Caesar, but her sister's cooks also used it in honey cakes, kills rats and husbands. You laugh, though the sound sticks in your throat. His eyes narrow, trapping you in their amber gleam. For a heartbeat, you're certain he's counting your eyelashes, measuring the worth of your irises. He breaks the spell with a snort, turning to rearrange already perfect scarves. Go on, lick it. He shoves the vial at you again. Not poison. Probably. You decline, palms sweating around the best amulet in your pocket. Its jagged edges bite your skin, a grounding sting. The trader shrugs, uncorks the vial, takes a theatrical sip. His tongue emerges gilded and unharmed, wagging like a dog. Behind him, a shadow detaches from the wall. A woman, veil stained with indigo bruises, reaches for a sandalwood jar. The trader whirls, faster than a cobra's strike, and grabs her wrist. Ah, Thutmose's tacksmen take their cut at dawn. Don't make me add theft to your debts. She hisses, spitting a glob of blood-red beetle juice at his feet. The trader releases her, wiping his hands on a sky-blue scarf. It's ruined instantly, crimson blooming across dyed linen, like a murder in paradise. Never trust a weaver from Edfu, he mutters, scrubbing harder. They style funeral shrouds with one hand, pick your purse with the other. The insult hangs sour between you. Nile night air thickens, weighed down by unspoken alliances. Across the market, a flute trills its melody, fraying at the edges. You adjust your grip on the amulet, its fractured face warm against your thumb. The trader sighs, suddenly deflated. He offers you a scarf, less vibrant than the others, its edges frayed by sandstorms. Here, before the Khamsin winds return, wrap your face unless you want lungs full of desert bones. You hesitate. His grin returns, cracked, lips parting to reveal a gold-capped molar. Free. Consider it. He pauses, gesturing to your hidden amulet. A trade between fellow travelers. The scarf smells of cumin and long-dead campfires. You knot it around your neck, its weight both foreign and familiar. The trader nods, satisfied, and turns to extinguish his oil lamp. In the sudden dark, his obsidian beads still glint, captured stars winking, promises no human tongue could shape. A shriek cuts the thickening air, not fear, but glee. You turn toward date palm shadows, where 6 children hunch like herons over a cracked jar. Their knees gleam with Nile mud, the slick black kind that potters curse and doctors prescribe for boils. Anubis chose me. A boy lunges, fingers grazing the jar's rim. The others tackle him, limbs tangling in a parody of wrestlers you saw near the temple. Historians confirm children's games mirrored adult rituals, athletic bouts to chaotic scrambles for hidden objects. This seems closer to baboon warfare. A girl emerges victorious, her braids whipping like scorpion tails. She upends the jar, dried chickpeas clatter onto a woven mat. 7, she crows, though you count 9. The others groan, tossing pebbles at her feet. One stone skitters your way, pocked with angular scratches. You flip it over, a hieratic numeral, a child's doodle. Give it. The smallest snatches the pebble, grinning. We're playing Senate without the board. Quirky, archaeologists found game pieces in trash heaps, but the rules remain guesswork. These brats use broken pottery and math, skills sharper than tax collectors. They redeploy, hiding the jar beneath a discarded papyrus sail. You spot its outline instantly. The linen's oiled sheen betrays them. Warmer, a boy teases as his friend crawls past, forehead brushing your sandal. His breath smells of soured milk and honey cakes, breakfast scavenged from a careless vendor. The game halts when a toddler waddles into their midst, chewing a strip of palm bark. Amit's coming. An older girl hisses, scooping up the child. They scatter, bare feet smacking mud in a rhythmic panic. Only the jar remains, oozing resin, where the crack splits widest. Historians still argue whether Amit games were playful terrors or practice for navigating demons in the afterlife. You kneel, dipping a finger into the jar's sticky interior. Myrrh, tamarind glaze. The scent pulls a memory. Your wet nurse rubbing gum acacia on your teething gums. A pebble pings your shoulder. The children regroup behind a donkey cart giggling. The smallest holds up a clay figurine, crude limbs splayed like a starfish. Trade you, she shouts. You toss her a copper ring, your last, and catch the offering. It's a hippo goddess, probably from a mold meant for bread. One ear chipped, eyes crossed in permanent surprise. You pocket it, the children already sprinting toward new mischief. Their laughter fades, replaced by the hiss of reeds along the river's edge. The abandoned jar winks in fading torchlight, its contents swirling with crushed date pits and shadows. You walk away, stickiness clinging to your palm like a half-kept promise. The market's heartbeat slows, oil lamps gutter as vendors shutter their stalls. You uncork the vial from your belt, its neck still warm from the dyer's palm. Cardamom rises first, pungent and sweet, then something muskier that makes your nape prickle. Royal perfumers mixed this spice into Cleopatra's baths, though she likely never paid in copper rings for it. You drag your thumb across the vial's rim. Sticky resin clings like a lover's last kiss. Dabbing it onto your wrists, the oil's greed startles you. It drinks skin heat and swells. Your pores hum ancient whispers about temples where priestesses anointed statues with lion fat. Quirky, modern, nose-blind chemists tried reconstructing those unguents. Results reportedly attracted stray cats for miles. Night air thickens. Your scent trails a second shadow. Historians still argue whether pharaohs wore civet oil as romance or political armor. A drunk merchant staggers past, sniffs, and mumbles what might be a prayer. You consider apologizing to the dark. This stolen alchemy isn't meant for mortal lungs. Behind shuttered stalls, dyers dunk faded linens into vats. Milky water swirls, indigo turned ashen under moonlight. Their hands move like yours, kneading color back into the world's fraying edges. You press oil-slick fingertips to a wall. Honeycomb patterns linger, proof you existed here. Bats harvest dates overhead, wings parting the heat. When the last vendor's song fades, you'll swear the oil pulls stars closer. No, that's just your eyelids betraying you. Sleep comes in lotus-tinged waves. The clash of copper rings snaps your drowsiness. A couple's argument blooms 3 stalls down. His tunic's frayed, hers dyed Tyrian purple gone muddy at the hems. They hover over a blown glass flask, rose adder inside, catching moonlight like liquid mercury. You'd laugh if your tongue weren't woolen from that last fig wine sip. 20 Deben, she hisses, fingers tightening around the vial. This stinks of second-day blossoms. He counters with a growl, something about Nubian caravans and bribed camel drivers. Their hands keep meeting as they gesture, knuckles grazing, then jerking apart as if burned. Coins pile between them, a wobbling tower of Ptolemy's least flattering profile. Rose cultivation along the Niles, the stuff of tax records, entire villages indentured to palace gardens. Yet nobody wrote down how lovers argued over its essence, probably wise. A donkey flicks its tail, sending 3 coins rolling toward your foot. You kick them back, silver edges still warm from their palms. 15 and my mother's lapis bracelet. The woman offers, voice cracking like unfired clay. Your mother's had 4 husbands, that baubles cursed. Their haggling turns musical offers and rejections, rhyming like drunk poets. You catch the vendor's eye. He's hiding a grin behind his dates. Knows full well Nile roses lose potency by dawn. Also knows, as you do, about last year's scroll found in Memphis. It details a perfume seller's ledger, 1 jar rose oil paid in kisses. Historians still argue whether that was romance or petty theft. The couple's coin tower collapses, ringing across stones. Now they're on knees, scrambling palms slapping each other's wrists by accident. She laughs first, a sound like shattered alabaster. And suddenly, they're trading insults with the warmth of inside jokes. The donkey crushes a date pit, impatient as they rise dustier, but soft-eyed. 18, he mutters, smearing mud off her elbow. 17, done. They press foreheads instead of hands, rose vial forgotten between sandaled feet. You consider pocketing it. Let history think you resisted. But the vendor clears his throat, offers you a honey-dipped date for impartiality. The taste floods your mouth, too sweet, but you nod like a benevolent scribe. Distant lutes start up, some groom's pre-dawn serenade. The couple sways, coins jangling in her clenched fist, his thumb tracing her pulse point. You turn away, their business concluded, and nearly trip over the donkey. It exhales hotly, judging everyone present. 2 merchants nearby mime applause, grinning over their beer. 1 wears a clay amulet shaped like Bess, patron saint of newlyweds and bad decisions. You finger your own vial, cardamom bittersweet now. Think of Cleopatra's ships, sails soaked in rose oil, so Rome would smell her coming. Imagine Antony sneezing mid-declaration, the couple's gone melted into reed boat shadows. Only the flask remains half full and glittering. Vendor tosses you a rag stained with saffron. Wipe your smirk, he says. They'll be back at dawn, swearing they've hated each other since birth. You pocket the rag instead, a relic of love's algebra. Somewhere, a lapis bracelet sinks into the Nile, 4 husbands nodding in the murk. The market's pulse quickens, or maybe that's your own reckless heart. Either way, you walk faster. Dawns a slick, oily promise on the horizon. The girl's laughter cuts through the spice haze, high and bright as a shard of dawn. She balances a reed tray on her head, sesame cakes stacked like miniature pyramids. Their honey glaze catches the first amber streaks of morning. You pause, stomach growling, but your sandals crunch on something wiry. Vetiver roots sprawl at her feet, earth-clotted and smelling of deep, damp secrets. She tilts her head, braids streaked with soot sway like temple pendulums. 3 cakes for a root. Her voice cracks, part child, part market haggle. You glance at the vetiver. Its uses flood your mind. Pharaohs tucked it into burial linens, believed to ward off restless spirits. Modern perfumers pay half their weight in silver for those gnarled stalks, yet here it lies traded for sticky dough. Historians still argue whether street vendors understood the true value or simply played the long game. The girl tugs her earlobe, a blue faience beetle dangling. 2 cakes then, but you'll dream of bread tonight. You open your palm, let her place 1 warm disc in it. Sesame seeds prickle your skin tiny scars. Her fingers smell of embers and raw yeast, the scent of dough before baking. Unborn bread, your grandmother called it, dough left to rise in midnight corners. Some bakers whispered it could cure sleeplessness if shaped under a waning moon. She snatches the vetiver root cheeky before you've finished counting cakes. A donkey brays behind you its load of flax, swaying dangerously close to her tray. The girl slaps its nose, gentle murmuring about thieving hooves. This close, her braids reveal unexpected geometry, each plait wrapped in thread, red as oxidized copper. You've seen this before. Temple dancers wore such threads during solstice rites, kept evil winds from unraveling their prayers. Why the roots? You ask, bitterness from the cake's edge clings to your teeth. She shrugs, eyes narrowing like a merchant twice her age. Feet, you blink waiting for mythic revelations. None come. Our oven's cracked, she admits, kicking a pebble. Vetiver burns slow 2 roots by an hour's bake time. Practical magic, you almost laugh. Even Cleopatra's perfumers used it to line fire pits, kept myrrh from scorching. But merchant lords never mentioned fuel shortages in their scrolls. Preferred tailies of scented sails, not smoky backstreet kitchens. The girl licks honey off her thumb, studies you. You want another cake? Trade that jar. She points to the vial at your belt, cardamom oil from the widow's stall. You shake your head, pretend offense. This survived 6 floods and 1 husband's funeral, worth 20 trays. 15, she counters, suddenly all business. A man stumbles by reeking of barley beer. His sleeve catches the tray. Cakes tumble, she catches 3 midair. The 4th splats in the dust. She hisses a curse you last heard from a shipwrecked Cypriot. Here, you flip her a copper ring, stolen earlier from a drunk guard's purse. She bites it, nods, offers the salvaged cakes. I'll add a secret. Leaning close, her breath smells of burnt honey. Grind vetiver with ibis eggshell makes ink that only moonlit eyes can read. You arch a brow, market scams come sweeter than this. True, she crosses her heart, smudging ash over linen. Priests used it for love letters, got tired of candlelit spies. Historians still argue whether temple scribes employed such tricks, or if modern hustlers exaggerate to hawk herbs. You pocket the root regardless, its earthy musk battling the cardamom at your hip. She's already turned away, haggling with a date seller over browned fruit. You slip into the crowd, fingers sticky with secrets. Somewhere, a baker feeds vetiver to flames, unaware his bread carries whispers of tombs and lovers' ink. Your stomach growls. You eat the last cake, the taste of unborn bread lingering like a riddle. The last honeyed crumb dissolves, bitter vetiver aftertaste clinging like a persistent ghost. Shadows bleed across the market, stall canopies ripple in a sudden hot wind. Then it comes, a shuddering howl that pricks the hairs on your neck. Not the mournful dog song of village mutts. This cry splits the air, all broken glass and rusted blades, before dissolving into the dunes. A clay dish shatters, turmeric dust blooms gold. Vendors freeze, hands mid-haggle over lapis lazuli beads. An old spice merchant spits 3 times left, right, between his feet. Anubis walks early tonight, he mutters, fumbling to wrap a ibis feather amulet in felt. You remember the carvings, jackals carved into Pharaoh's tombs as guides. But those stone guardians never sounded. Hungry, 3 stalls down, a linen draper slams her shutters. The clack of wood on wood travels, click, 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 as others follow. A potter's teenage apprentice hesitates, hands full of unbaked vessels. His master yanks him inside, kicking a coiled rope across the threshold. You've read about this. House inventories from Edfu mention jackal repellents, thorn branches, rooster blood, ropes knotted 7 times. Archaeologists found such a rope in 1923, still reeking of rancid fat. The howl comes again, closer now. Your sandal squelches in something warm, donkey dung fresh enough to steam. Not ideal, but Bessarian trade records praise its protective stench. You're weighing dignity versus safety when a voice rasps behind you. You, yes, scarf over your nose. They hate the breath of the living. A one-eyed woman thrusts a strip of papyrus at you, charred edges glowing faintly. Written curse. Shopping list. Her fingernails suggest scribe's ink-stained sepia. You press it to your face. Charcoal and old roses with a top note of fermented fish. The jackals answer. Silence. Told you, she croaks, already retreating. Burn before dawn, or it'll follow. Historians still argue whether jackal packs hunted near settlements, or if those bones in trash pits were ceremonial. Easy debate over tea, less so when the breeze carries musk, wet fur, and sun-baked meat. A child laughs, high, hysterical, snuffed like a candle. You edge toward a shuttered perfume stall, back pressing against warm cedarwood. Something scrapes stone to your left, slow, deliberate. Your hand finds a clay shard jagged enough to regret. Moonlight warps, shadows stretch, then a shape lopes past. Lean flanked, ears like spear tips. It pauses, sniffs the donkey dung, and coughs. You almost laugh. Anubis's sacred messenger, gagging on your bad luck. But the relief curdles. 2 more shadows detach from the dark, gliding toward the potter's stall. Their breath rasps, a sickly whistle. Memory stirs, a papyrus scroll mentioning jackal lures. Temple singers imitating wounded gazelles. Your throat clicks. You hum the first notes, off-key and shaky. They freeze, ears swiveling. You hum louder, channeling bathhouse musicians and desperation. One jackal tilts its head, then sneezes. The spell breaks. They melt into an alley, claws clicking on stone. Around you, slow exhalations. Bolts slide open. The one-eyed woman peeks out, grinning, gap-toothed. Singer A should have said. She tosses a date, wrinkled but sweet. Eat, sharpens the pipes. You catch it, hand trembling only a little. The jackal's musk lingers, cut now by emerging scents. Cardamom, melted beeswax, fierce wet. Somewhere a baby wails, swiftly muffled. They'll be back, a potter warns, rubbing his amulet. Always are. But the market breathes again, oil lamps rekindling one by one. A dyer shakes out indigo cloaks, their folds blooming like night flowers. Laughter rises, nervous, then triumphant. You pocket the papyrus strip. Tonight's campfire tale writes itself. Jackals outwitted by a tuneless hum. The moon climbs, a silver servant pouring light over stalls. Your sandals still caked. You scrape it clean, leaving Anubis's joke in the dust. The vetiver root weighs heavy, its earthy scent suddenly comforting. You walk east, past a baker feeding loaves to his oven. Vetiver smoke spirals, carrying prayers for dawn. The baker's oven throws fractured light across your path, embers dying in the pre-dawn chill. 2 men slump against a listing stall, their hands cradling bulbous bottles. One hiccups, sending sediment swirling. 4 copper deben, no 5. He slurs, fingers slipping on the vessel's greasy neck. His companion snorts. A dented coin, gleaming between missing teeth. This swills half-river mud, 3 at best. They remind you of tomb paintings, those drunk nobles, with lotus stems drooping from limp fingers. Real temple beer likely tasted worse. Residue analyses show sourdough starter and bread mold. These merchants hoard the dregs anyway, swapping lees for scraps of pride. A jug slips, thick liquid oozes into sand. The owner wails, scooping sludge with bare hands. Drowned 7 fleas in this vintage, he boasts, guaranteed vigor. Historians still argue whether Nile taverns sold wine or just date palm rot. You're leaning toward rot. The river exhales, a wet sigh kissing the docks. Your sandal grinds a broken amphora handle, incised with a cartouche. A king's name, worn smooth. Official wine vessels reused for discount. Hooch how empires crumble. A child darts past, snatching a dropped date. His feet slap wet stones, too loud in the thinning dark. Shadows retreat, stallholders shutter their wares. Only the desperate remain. A woman offers you blue lotus powder, clumped from last week's humidity. Dream true, she croaks, palm outstretched. You decline. 3 men sang of lotus dreams yesterday, currently snoring in a dog-claimed alley. Dawn's first bird calls, a hoarse cry swallowed by the Nile. The drunk pair strike a deal 8 deben for a jar shaped like a fertility goddess's hips. Classy. Coins change hands, one rolls into a puddle. The loser dips his finger, drawing a wobbly ankh on his companion's forehead. Blessing or insult? Their laughter rasps like sandpaper. You step over a dozing goat, its tail twitching at phantom flies. The riverbank breathes damp decay, crushed reeds, dead fish, algae-slick stones. Yet beneath it, petrichor. The earth's relief after enduring another night. A flask splits open near your foot, shattered by a stumbling merchant. The smell punches your throat, garlic steeped in vinegar. Or tears. Soldiers carried similar brews, pre-battle courage distilled into stench. This man's battle is with gravity. He fails, face meeting mud with a wet splat. From the reeds, a splash. Too heavy for frogs. You turn, catching a glint of scales diving under dock planks. Nile crocodile, festival puppet. Dawn blurs the edges. Best not to linger. The last stallkeeper packs his scales, weights shaped like scarab beetles. One tips into a basket of juniper berries. He doesn't notice. Fair trade beetles for beetles. East now, past the dyer's empty vats. Indigo froth clings to clay sides, fading to corpse gray. Your vial of vetiver oil pulses warmth against your chest. A good haul despite the jackals and sludge and dubious hygiene. The Nile stretches tired and endless. Barges bob like cradle toys, captains asleep under frayed sails. You press a hand to the vial's curve. Somewhere downstream, your tent, your fire, stories for the road. First light stains the horizon, blushing behind Jebel el-Silsila's cliffs. The market's final breath rises, ash and cardamom and donkey dung. You follow the river, oil seeping into your skin, leaving the dregs to the flies. The loom's clatter stops you, a wooden heartbeat in the dwindling market. A blind man sits cross-legged, his fingers dancing over warp threads. His empty loom weights sway, smooth river, stones strung like planets. You've heard of these horizontal looms, the same design found in tomb paintings at Beni Hassan, but never seen one breathing. He tilts his head, milky eyes tracking your shadow. 3 drops, he says, palms upturned. No jar in sight. You hesitate, too tired for riddles. He taps a spindle carved with ibises. For the threads. Moonlight slips off unless his voice fades. A priest guarding temple rites. You fumble for your oil vials. Lavanteria spills its name into your mind, Spanish for laundry room, though Spain won't exist for millennia. History's a messy loom. He sniffs, nose jerking toward the lavender. There, that's the one. Archaeologists found linen tunics in Tutankhamun's tomb, infused with myrrh. But this man's after sweeter ghosts. He drips oil onto the loom's heddle rod, wood drinking greedily. Threads remember, he murmurs, full river moon tonight. They'll catch what eyes can't. Historians still argue whether temple weavers perfumed threads to honor gods or simply mask the reek of stale linens. You watch him weave, crisscrossing strands, singing under lavender-slick fingers. The rhythm's hypnotic, shuttle darting like a minnow. A pattern emerges, undulating waves. No, scales, no, wind over papyrus. He offers a scrap of finished cloth, its fibers humming against your palm. Cooler than linen ought to be. Payment, he says, already reaching for your vial. Some fringe texts claim full moons made linen absorb oils better, though that's probably dyers drinking too much palm wine. You trade his cloth coiling into your satchel like a sigh. He leans close, reeking of camphor and fried termites. Tell the scribes, he whispers. Rigged looms sang before flutes. Music's just tangled air. Dawn bleeds hotter now. You glance back. He's oiling the loom again. No cloth this time. Just empty threads thrumming, capturing light you swear wasn't there before. A breeze lifts the left-behind scent lavender and something older. Kilns burning, rotting flax, memory. The river answers with a heron's cry. Your new cloth brushes your neck, a lover's forgotten promise. 2 women pass, bearing jugs of stale beer. One nods at your satchel. Weaver's work, she snickers. Last moon he traded mooncloth for a donkey. Beast kicked him, threads didn't warn that. You finger the fabric, its chill persisting. Maybe moonlight's just another dye. Maybe donkeys hate art. The path ahead blurs, heat rising in wobbles. You touch the oil vial at your throat, emptier now, but still warm. The guard's snore startles you, a wet rumble swallowed by stone. He slumps against a pillar, chest plate, reflecting the last defiant stars. His spear clatters, a Roman hasta design, Egypt copied centuries later, all pointy end and false authority. You step over his sandals, one heel raw from rubbing against papyrus soles. A tabby cat materializes its tail, twitching over the guard's overturned cup. Pink tongue darts, lapping wine pooling between cobbles. Archaeologists found mosaics of cats stealing Roman drinks, though none admit they'd sample Egyptian vintage. The cat glares, green eyes slitting, as you crouch. No judgment, you whisper. He's on his 5th watch. Historians still argue whether guards napped from heat exhaustion or palm wine rations cut with Lotus. You inspect the spear, its iron tip pitted by red sea salt. No wonder it's propped against limestone, too heavy for a man half asleep. The cat purrs, now grooming wine-stained paws. You have expected to demand a straw. The guard's helmet tilts, revealing a sealed papyrus scroll tucked in his sash. Oily fingerprints mar the edges. Palace gossip, duty rosters, bad poetry. You lean closer, then freeze. His breath smells of fermented figs and self-pity. Not worth the risk. Dawn glows, peach bruised behind him. The cat bats the cup, metal screeching against stone. The guard jerks awake, spear skidding from his grip. You're already 10 steps away, browsing a date seller's stall like a model citizen. The cat watches a smirk in its whiskers. Sentries. The guard bellows hoarse as a deflated war horn. He staggers upright, fumbling for his weapon. You palm a date sticky sweet and toss it toward the cat. It pounces, crashing into a basket of dried juniper. Merchants shout, spice clouds erupting. The guard trips over his own spear. A comedy of errors Lotus would have stolen. By the time he rights himself, your 2 alleys gone. The cat trills victory, its tail high as a victory standard. You lick date residue off your thumb, sweetness cut by a metallic aftertaste. Fear sweat or stolen wine. A donkey brays nearby, its laugh louder than the guard's pride. You glimpse the Nile through crumbling walls, water blushing with sunrise. The vial at your neck pulses warmer now. Maybe from running, maybe from laughing. The cat's purr follows you, a smug hum lingering like bad advice. You round a corner, stumbling into the stench of shattered dreams. A terracotta jar lies fractured, its rose mallow ointment bleeding into dust. The merchant stares, hands frozen mid-count over copper coins. His stall reeks of failure and rancid fat. Third this week, he mutters to you, the scorpion gods, maybe both. He prods the shards, calloused fingers smearing pinkish grease. Egyptian perfumers used animal fats to bind scents. A fact tomb paintings never show. Historians still argue whether street vendors diluted sacred recipes with cheaper tallow. The merchant kicks a shard. It skitters into a pyramid of dog droppings. Bonus fragrance, apparently. He wipes hands on his kilt, leaving oily streaks over beer stains. You spot henna'd eyebrows, last week's vanity now flaking into desperation. A fly lands on the oozing mallow. The man barks a laugh sharp enough to slice linen. Repels mosquitoes, they said, 30 years blending, and my magnum opus. He gestures wildly, nearly appending his last intact jar. Bug food. You crouch breathing in fermented roses and crushed hopes. The spill glistens, swallowing a discarded scarab amulet. Some priest's claimed perfume could bite demons. Shame it can't scare off bad luck. The merchant sighs, suddenly ancient under his saffron-stained headscarf. He scoops muck into a cracked bowl. Waste not, he grumbles. Catfish bait, or wife's foot salve, she'll never know. Dawn stains his stall blood orange. You press a coin into his palm, overpaying for the least cracked jasmine vial. His grip lingers, a tradesman's apology. As you leave, he's humming, reinventing tomorrow's lies to the sound of scraping clay. A hoopoe's shriek shreds the dark, your spine jerking like a puppet string. The bird perches on a splintered market sign, crimson crest fanned wide. Its cry echoes off mud brick, a noise archaeologists insist adorned royal headdresses for luck. You wonder if King Tut ever wanted to strangle his alarm clock. Fires cough awake. Vendors poke embers into flames that lick last night's wine stains. A potter's apprentice yawns, drool glistening on a half-formed urn. His hands move without him, kneading clay still cold from the river. Egypt's dawn shifts feel familiar, like your college graveyard shifts at Denny's, minus the pancake-scented despair. A dyer tumbles from a palm frond shelter, her indigo-stained toes curling away from scorpions. She kicks a copper vat, its sludge emitting a groan too human. Up, up, she rasps, voice frayed as her sun-bleached shawl. Lotus petals won't boil themselves. The hoopoe dive bombs a bread stall, snatching a date loaf midair. The baker swats at emptiness, his curse, inventing new combinations of feathered thief and ancestor's shame. You pocket a warm sesame ring, karma's, a concept best applied after breakfast. Across the square, a linen weaver sings to his threads. His tune wobbles, a drunkard's version of a hymn to Hathor. Threads shimmer, dipped in lavender oil, so fine-idded, make French perfumers weep. Historians still argue whether temple weavers added opium to their vats, searching for divine visions in every stitch. You pass a guardsman snoring against a sphinx statue, his spear propped like a drunken dance partner. A stray dog nuzzles his empty coin pouch tail, wagging at the stench of fermented figs. Some things transcend eras, like the universal snooze of graveyard shifts. The dyer beckons her palm, cradling a vial of midnight blue pigment. Dawn's first light trapped in glass, she croaks. You uncork it, inhaling oxidized copper and fermented juniper. It's the exact shade of your ex's eyeliner, the one who needed space after your ibis-watching phase. A child darts past, trailing a stolen string of lapis beads. Her laughter bounces off merchant stalls, now groaning awake. The hoopoe follows, a feathered accomplice screeching like a getaway car. Common tomb paintings show hoopoes as soul guides, but their museum labels skip the part about petty theft. The baker corners you, flour-dusted hands waving at his plundered goods. You, foreigner, buy 3 loaves, get a free curse removed. His grin reveals a missing tooth, an exit wound from last week's haggle over common prices. You decline, regretting it, when he mumbles something about locusts in your sandals. Sunlight bleeds across the Nile, turning reed boats into golden ghosts. A fisherman offers you catfish skewers, their charred scales glittering with questionable glitter. You chew slowly, tasting paprika and regret. 18th dynasty, food blogs never mention the bones. The dyer's apprentice emerges, a boy of maybe 9, dragging a sack of crushed beetles. Carmen dye pools at his feet, a crime scene from a bug's worst nightmare. He catches you staring. For your cheeks, he offers, smearing a streak down your arm. It'll wash out in 3 moons, maybe. The hoopoe returns, perched atop a swaying camel. It shrieks directly into the beast's ear. The camel spits, a greenish missile, missing your head by a scarab's width. Nearby merchants cheer, throwing raisins at the bird's iridescent tail. You duck into a spice stall, inhaling cinnamon and crushed delusions of safety. The weaver's song falters. He's found a hole in his latest linen sheet. His lament includes 7 gods, 3 dead relatives, and a goat that wronged him in a past life. You slip away, unwilling to star in his next tragic ballad. At the quay, a sailor scrubs deck planks stained with pomegranate wine. Cleopatra's barge docked here, he boasts, elbow-deep in suds. You nod, ignoring how every Nile town claims that lie. The real kicker, her ship's logs mention this port exactly once for a fennel and deal resupply. Riveting. The hoopoe crashes your exit, dropping half a date loaf at your feet. Its head tilts, beady eyes judging your life choices. You leave the offering. Some debts taste better unpaid. Behind you, the market inhales, ready to roar. Your sandals sink into damp riverbank. Silt, the Nile's nightly retreat, leaving squelching souvenirs. A dyer crouches upstream, rinsing indigo rags, until her fingers bruise purple. You press a silver deben into her palm, metal warmed by hours against your thigh. She laughs a sound like reeds snapping, and thrusts a clay jug into your hands. Drink, she urges, dawn waters sweeter than Pharaoh's wine. The first sip shocks cold as crocodile teeth, but the aftertaste blooms. Notes of wet stone, drifting lotus pollen, sun-baked mud from 1,000 miles south. You'd bet your last scarab this is just unfiltered river swill. But the Nile's gift birthed empires in this muck. Fertile silt built breadbaskets. Entire dynasties rose on seasonal floods. Modern farmers still pray for that brown gold, though controlled irrigation stole its magic. A fisherman wades nearby, his net glinting with tilapia, thrashing like liquid silver. He eyes your jug, grins wide as a hippo yawn. Careful, outlander, that water's got more ghosts than Memphis graveyards. His laugh follows him downstream, ripples distorting his reflection into something eyeless and grinning. The dyer wrings out a cloth, blue dye bleeding into current. They used to strain perfumes through this muck, she says, flicking a clump of silt. Said it gave oils the river's soul. Most experts claim it added grit, but try telling that to museum docents. You pocket a pebble-sized clot. Future, you can fight that battle. Sunlight cracks the horizon, gilding a passing merchant boat's hull. Sailors chant as oars dip, their rhythm syncing with your pulse. One voice rises sharp as a heron's cry, singing about pomegranate wine and a lover's crooked smile. Historians still argue whether perfume oils affected diets. Court records mention rose-scented barley cakes. You suspect it's just ancient food bloggers flexing, but your empty stomach growls agreement. The jug's last drop clings to your lip, a brackish kiss goodbye. The dyer's already vanished her vats, steaming with new poison for unsuspecting tunics. Across the river, a temple's shadow stretches, obelisks poking the underworld awake. You're suddenly certain that water's fermenting in your gut, full of parasites and dead pharaohs' ambitions. A ferryman calls his raft, swaying under crates of dried dates. You step aboard, wood creaking like an old priest's knees. He mutters about hippo curses, demands payment in onion-shaped copper rings. As the current grabs you, the jug slips overboard. It bobs briefly, a clay head drowning, then vanishes where light can't follow. Fermented figs, wet dog, myrrh resin melting in noon heat. The market's perfume clings, even as the dock shrinks to a smudge. You lick river residue off your teeth. It tastes of silt and stolen dawns. And 3 dozen unanswered questions. The water's gone, but your tongue still tingles itchy with the phantom press of beginnings. The ferry's far shore greets you with reed mat imprints, ghost stalls where frankincense merchants roared hours prior. Dawn bleeds across the Nile, turning oil-slick puddles into molten copper. Your vial hums against your collarbone, cardamom, and something dank, like a pharaoh's forgotten tomb robe. Barefoot children dart through debris, snatching up petal scraps too bruised for temples. One girl offers a crushed lotus bloom, its edges brown as mummy wrappings. 2 copper deben, she insists, grinning like a jackal pup. You wonder if kids 5 millennia ago haggled the same. Archaeology shows market haggling began when barter did. She pockets your refusal, already chasing a goat, chewing on papyrus receipts. The last dyer folds her stained linens, each crease precise as pyramid masonry. Her vats gurgle with indigo sludge, a recipe calling for stale urine and iron pots. Scholars debate whether blue dye caused early Alzheimer's. Craftsmen inhaled metal fumes daily. She coughs, a wet rattle, and spits into the river. You kneel where the Myrrh seller's scale stood, digging fingers into dust. Grit sticks under your nails, pungent even now. Some claim desert winds carried resins from Punt. Others insist traders smuggled Mesopotamian imitations. The truth's buried deeper than drowned cities, silt-sealed and forgotten. A shattered amphora winks in the sunlight, its jagged edges framing hieratic script. Property of Amen's temple survives, the rest eaten by time. Someone drew a crude ibis nearby, Thoth's symbol or drunken doodle. Historians still argue whether street art existed in olden markets. Your votes on board guards. Your sandal crushes reeds dyed crimson. They bleed fake pomegranate hue. Ancient Egypt's red gold came from pulverized bugs, stomaching that fact ruins silk robes. You shake stained flakes off your heel. They flutter like miniature funeral shrouds. Eastward, sunlight slices through palm groves, their trunks striped like Osiris's bandages. The oil vial's warmth spreads your heartbeat, sinking with its pulse. A final breeze snakes past, carrying echoes of haggling and burnt honey cakes. You press a thumb to the vial's neck, sealing the market's breath inside. No one waves as you depart. Stall ghosts don't need farewells. They're already dreaming of tomorrow's haggles. The Nile murmurs behind you, an eternal customer bargaining with the sea. The ferry's distant shore welcomes you, reeds matted with ghostly stalls. Frankincense merchants roared here just hours before. Dawn spills across the Nile, transforming oily puddles into liquid gold. Your vial thrums softly, cardamom and earth mingling, like a royal tomb's forgotten linen. Barefoot children weave through remnants, collecting petals too torn for sacred altars. A girl holds out a bruised lotus, edges browned like aged parchment. 2 copper deben, she declares, smile sharp as a desert fox. You muse. Did young ones barter the same way when pyramids were new? She shrugs at your no, dashing after goats nibbling vendor scraps. The final dyer folds cloth, each pleat exact as stonework. Her pots bubble with midnight brew, aged urine, and iron's tang. Experts wonder if the blue dye brought sickness, crafters breathing metal fumes each day. She turns coughs a rough whisper and lets the river claim her offering. You crouch where merchants wade myrrh fingertips tracing grit. Sand clings, still sharp with resin's ghost. Some say winds carried scents from distant lands. Others whisper of clever fakes. Truth sleeps beneath river mud, wrapped in silt's silent embrace. A broken jar glints in sunlight, edges framing ancient script. Property of Amun's temple remains, the rest lost to time. Nearby, a crooked ibis sketch, sacred symbol, or idle whim. No one agrees, but your guess leans toward midnight boredom. Crushed reeds stain your sandal, fake crimson from berry mash. Royals once wore red gold spun from beetle shells, knowledge that stings modern minds. You brush flakes away, they spiral like ceremonial ash. Eastward, light cuts through date palms, trunks bandaged like sleeping gods. The vial's heat blooms your pulse, matching its faded drumbeat. A last gust brushes your neck, haggling cries, and sugar smoke linger. You cap the scent, capturing this breath of shadow and spice. No goodbyes echo as you leave. Stall spirits need no closure, they're counting coins for dawn's first deal. The Nile croons its endless trade, water bartering with sand. You walk lighter now, the night's secrets bottled safe beneath your pulse.